Welcome back to the podcast. On today's episode, we're just going to get right down to the nitty gritty. What is anger? That's a question that we all ought to figure out early on so that we can benefit from it.
Here on Just These Guys, we got Ryan in the house.
We got Ryan. We got Dr. Parker.
Pastor Mike.
And we got Dr. Parker.
Let's get right to it.
Yeah. Ooh. Boom. What is anger?
Well, before we get there, Mike, two bits of business. One is your highly attuned senses that you brag about, noticing that the television set over here is a half-inch moved from where I was reaching behind it earlier today to turn the power on.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't notice something else. I finished the trim above the stairs.
You did?
We've only been talking about it for 6 months. You're going to help. You're going to bring me the board. And you need to get that done. And it's done.
It's done.
And you just cruise right past it. I take that as a compliment, though. It is so perfectly well done. It just blends in, doesn't catch the eye.
Yep. That is amazing.
The crown molding is perfection when nobody notices it.
I've looked up at it every single week that it's not been done. And now here it is done.
Because every single week it's a bit of an eyesore. It catches your eye when you walk in. That one piece is not done.
Well, congratulations.
So it is done. Thank you for the loan of the board.
Yeah.
It was a rather precarious.
I bet.
And I did slip off once.
Oh,
Don't
man.
tell Tish.
No, we won't tell her.
Caught myself, but.
Over the stairwell.
Yeah.
You'll have to show a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a heart starter.
I'm glad you lived to tell about it.
And the other thing I wanted to get to before we jump into chapter 1 of the book, Anger Management, Transform Anger into Advantage, is we had another gift from overseas.
Oh, boy.
And
look at that.
If anybody can actually see what I'm showing here. We'll try. All blurry. It is, I can't pronounce it, Dukun leather. It is a...
Is it a Cologne?
Is a parfuma. I don't know what that means. But one spritz has a smell.
Is that designed for the ladies?
No, it's leather. In fact, even without your permission,
ladies
I'm going to be
leather?
like in Macy's.
Oh. Hold on. I like the smell.
Do you like it?
Mm-hmm.
I hope you do, because you're going to wear it for a whole day now.
Yeah.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. So tell me where it came from?
This
Cambodia?
came from Saudi Arabia.
Oh, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
okay.
So this is the good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what it smells like. Yeah. It's good. It's nice.
Yeah. It settles down and then it's not overwhelming, not overpowering.
No, I like it. Cool.
So, anger management, transform anger into advantage.
Yes.
You have been reading the book and your initial reactions been what?
My initial reaction is that for me, and I don't think I'm going to be alone, the key to this is the whole idea of awareness of it. So always before anger sets in, all of a sudden I'm out of control and I'm doing things and saying things and that are regretful. Especially saying things that are regretful. Doing things, by the way, as well. I'm not against sharing stories of my weaknesses, my blind spots. We had it was Savannah would have been probably around, 9 or 10 years old. Skylar would have been then 5 or 6. And they were in the back seat of our Durango. We were at the movie theater. Dawn went up to see if they had tickets. We had been in a little bit of a heated conversation. Some people call them arguments. And she comes back to the car. the door is locked, and so she knocks on the window. It was my perspective and perception that she had hit the window a little too hard. Hey! So I was already elevated, out of control, not doing anything transformative to an advantage. And I'm sitting there, and this is several years ago, thank goodness. But I'm sitting there, and so we start arguing again once I let her in, which I'm pretty sure I started to move forward, and I was messing with her. But anyway, she gets in the car, and we're arguing, and we're talking about how you hit the window too hard. What'd you do that for? And so then all of a sudden I said, this is what it sounded like. And I hit the windshield in front of me. just completely a fist mark with spider web. Not just one like crack, spider web.
That is a powerful punch. Because windshields are designed for auto wrecks.
I was out of control. So the thing, after reading through this, and I'm on my third time through now, but after reading through this, it's about the idea that you don't have to get out of control just because that emotion sets in, that you can actually use it to make a situation better, because now all of a sudden you've got some focus.
Right.
And so this whole idea, though, is to first understand what anger is.
Well, in the introduction, we touched on it last week. We're skipping it today, but we touched on it in last week's episode, number 100. The idea behind the book, the introduction, is that anger is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where we have run into problems is we try not to be angry. We try to shut our anger down. That's when we start creating problems, when we don't recognize it has utility. And when we use anger as designed, it becomes drive, determination, focus, all these wonderful qualities that we can use to make our lives better, our relationships better, solve issues. And it's a problem-solving tool. And so we kick off chapter 1 with, diving into, these chapters build on each other. It's a workbook in a sense, literally a workbook that I'm introducing some ideas in this chapter. Here's some homework to work on to understand those ideas. Then we go to the next chapter. And if you didn't get what the previous chapter was, trying to get you to understand, then it starts to be hard to understand the following chapters.
Yep.
They build on each other. And so what you're talking about here is anger actually has a purpose.
Right.
And to understand that, you have to understand we are emotional creatures. Mm-hmm. And all of our emotions have a purpose, and we experience all variety of emotions. And we like some of them.
Oh, yeah.
And
we love joy, happiness.
And then the other ones that we don't like, we try to run away from or shut down. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with particular emotions. They all have an individual purpose that they're trying to help you navigate life better. And what happened when you got to page 2 of chapter 1, page 2? You recall?
Is that where you're talking about the different emotions?
That is that page.
Oh yeah, I looked right to the middle. I like that too. That was a great insight, because you said that emotions are the highlighter of life, something like that.
Right.
And that without emotions, life would be completely void of anything good.
Good is an emotion. Good is a judgment. Good is an emotion.
Sure.
Every second would be like the second before if there was no emotion coloring what that moment is. What does it mean to you? Is this something to remember, something to forget? Is this something to pay attention to, worry about? The emotions inform us of our events that transpire throughout the day. And so I call them the yellow highlighters of life, because on that page, when you turn to that page, you start reading the first sentence, but then your eyes jump down to the highlighted section, which busts you and calls you out for looking at that paragraph. But that's the whole point, is that if we didn't have emotions, every event throughout our life would be like every single word on a piece of paper. We would have to study it and analyze it through some major algorithm to figure out what to keep, what not to keep, what to remember. And so chapter 1 breaks down a number of the emotions, the more major ones, and kind of explains to you why we have them, what their purpose is, and how to use those. And so just for a quick example, happiness. The purpose of happiness is to call your attention to the events going on and say to you, this is something good. You want to hang on to it as long as you can, or recreate it in the future. And so we've all had a vacation where we get on the vacation and we start enjoying ourselves. We start feeling happy. And then we start entertaining the idea of canceling our flight and staying another couple of days. So that's the emotion telling you, hey, this is such a good thing. Stretch it out, keep it going.
Yeah.
And when that day finally comes, we got to fly out. How many times have you been on that flight back home with your wife talking about, we should really go back there. Let's book another trip to that place. That was a lot of fun. So you start trying to recreate that experience that you enjoyed in your future. And that's what happiness is there to do, is to inform you and motivate you to do something. Hang on to this or recreate it again and again and again. And so just like happiness has this purpose, anger has a purpose. And anger is a problem-solving tool. It is given to you to help you solve a problem. And did your anger help you solve the problem in the car that day?
Not in the least. But it wasn't the anger that was bad. It was my response.
Well, and that's the not understanding that I have this emotional state now, and it is here to help me resolve this problem I am having. And so how do I use this emotion? That becomes chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But the purpose of anger is to help you solve a problem. It is energy and it is focus and it is nothing more. And to just kind of illustrate that, if you go to, stop at the bar on the way home, stop at the restaurant on the way home, see your friends, you have a burger, you have a beer, and you're like, I got to go. And you call for the check, and the waitress comes around and hands you your check, and you look down and it's, nowadays prices, $16.72. You just look at the bill, start reaching for a 20 in your pocket, keep talking, guys, I got to go. And you throw your 20 down and finally walk out. But if you get that bill and it's $32.76, suddenly you become very focused. Laser lock, tunnel vision in on the bill. Wait a minute. And you start telling everybody to shut up. Hey, I'm trying to concentrate here. What the heck's going on with this bill? Energy starts coming into your body. You're becoming energized. So you're being given the energy and the focus necessary to solve this problem you've just been handed.
Now let's take it to another level. The waitress was rude the whole time. She brought the wrong burger. She actually included gratuity on her own. And now you get the bill. That is double what it should be. Now you have an opportunity to see what you can do with the situation for good.
And that's where we're going to explore with all of this. But right now, chapter 1 is just understanding there is a purpose to our emotions. And anger's purpose is to energize us and focus us to help us solve a problem. So in my example, you might start looking for the waitress. You might stand up out of the table. You might wave her over. And if she doesn't come soon enough, you might go to her.
Sure.
All of that energy you're using purposefully to resolve the issue, which is the check is wrong and you don't like feeling ripped off. So you're going to use the internet, and because you're in public, you're probably, hey, you may not realize this, but this is a little much. I only ordered a burger and a beer. I don't think it's $32.76. And you're going to stand there with her, bouncing on your toes, waiting for her to correct the bill and hand it back to you. That is the purpose of anger. What most of us do, and you're obviously, I'm preaching to the choir, but you're not alone in what occurred in the car. People will be like, oh, I can't believe that. Clutch my pearls. Everybody's done something dumb like that, where they gotten mad, punched a hole in a wall, gotten mad, thrown something, gotten mad, said words that are really hard to walk away from after you say them.
Right.
We've all expressed our anger and used that energy and focus in a destructive way that does not solve the problem. In fact, it tends to magnify the problem. And so the purpose of this book, the purpose of the course I've taught for many years, is to help people, kind of walk through this thing step by step, so they understand that, okay, whatever is going on here, according to the introduction, anger is a good thing. So I have it. So let's not try to shut it down or run away from it. And 2, it's here now to help me solve a problem.
Yeah, that's the why we have it.
Right.
But ultimately, why we have it, what you say in the book, is because we are made in the image of God.
And yeah, that's why we have the emotion. Is it serves a purpose, it serves a function, it helps us excel in life when we use it as it was designed. And that's what the book is designed to help you understand, is how you are to use this thing. Have you ever seen somebody on the work site pick up a pipe wrench and use it as a hammer?
Oh yeah, I've done it.
Okay. Yeah. And the other guy just stands there shaking his head going, that's not how that tool is designed.
Or a putty knife to get in a door that's iced over.
You're going to create more problems.
Yes.
There's a strong risk here. You're going to create more problems picking up that monkey wrench and trying to drive that finish nail in,
right, than
if you got the proper tools for that job. And that's what emotions are. They're tools. We're given these tool set, and in that tool set is happiness and sadness and guilt and anger. They all have a specifically designed purpose. Sadness, we run away from it all the time. We try to swallow it. Oh, I'm not sad. Sadness is telling you something important in your life is now missing.
Yeah.
And it wants you to slow down and think about it, so that you can identify what it was that was so important to you that is now gone.
So I really feel like the majority of my life, if I don't know, maybe all of my life, for whatever reason, I have been someone who avoids sadness. I avoid processing loss. I avoid, my mother died in 2007, and I really don't think that I've fully processed that, because I've always run from the sadness of it. What's the first step for somebody to begin to recognize it, I guess, is the first step. But then, like, what do you do with that?
The sadness?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother book.
No. Well, I'm sure it is.
No, but with sadness, when we start to feel sad, we start to avoid the memories of that person or that. And so we are now doing the opposite of what sadness is trying to get us to do. That is going to cause us to be perpetually stuck in that loop where we're avoiding all this stuff. We put their stuff away. We don't talk about them. We don't think about, there's the elephant in the room. We're standing there going, hey, so how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? How's the weather? We're not talking about the thing that we're all sad about.
Yeah.
And in that conversation, or in the allowing yourself to remember, good memories come back, because I'm sad these memories are no longer here. And more importantly, I'm sad that new future, the old future that I was envisioning, that future is now gone. And so this is what the emotion is trying to get you to do, is what is missing that was important to you, and equally important, what was the future you were envisioning that is now no longer available. When you identify those things, the next step starts to naturally kick in, which is, how are we going to memorialize? They were so important to me. We want to mark their time here on this earth with a memorial. Some people do it with a gravestone. Some people make a donation to a charity. There's different ways to memorialize people. You see them on the road when you're driving down. You'll see a bunch of flowers and a cross where somebody died in an auto accident.
Yeah.
They're memorializing that person and paying homage to them for having been on the earth and having an impact. And then we can shift it to, well, how are we going to keep their memory alive in the future? How are we? They live in us. And I always talk to people about, it's a shift in relationship. So for example, I consider you a friend, but as a rule, we talk for 1 hour once a week.
Right.
So during the other 7 days of the week, how are you and I in a relationship? We think about each other.
Mm-hmm.
We might shoot a text to each other. We might occasionally pick up the phone and talk to each other. We're having a relationship, but you're not physically present.
Got it.
So when somebody passes in our life, we extend that. They're not physically present on the earth. They're physically present in paradise. So I can still have a relationship in me with them. And so maybe my mother was, really all about tomatoes and growing tomatoes in the backyard. And she, worked on it every day, and she would bring them in, very proud of her tomatoes. So now that she's gone, maybe I go plant a tomato garden. And every day I'm out there tending to the tomatoes. I'm there with my mother.
Yeah.
There are different ways to memorialize, and there are different ways to keep those memories alive. And when we shut down sadness, we don't get to those other steps. And what I've told people going through grieving process is, yes, this hurts. Yes, this sucks. But there will come a day when it feels good to feel sad. And my mother passed 30 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Once a year, maybe, but I'll be walking through the kitchen or he'll say something and she will come back to my mind and it'll be knee buckling. And I'll just sit down and cry, but smile at the same time. Because, oh my God, if he'd have done that when Mom was around, woo! You don't do that in front of my mother.
Oh.
And so it's a sad but pleasant experience. They were that important to me. I still feel this way.
Yeah.
And so that's the deal with each and every emotion. They have a reason. They have a purpose. They're a tool that can help our lives become better. And anger is one of those emotions that also has a purpose, also has a function, that when we learn its purpose and learn its function, we can use it to resolve issues, solve problems. There's nothing that says we have to yell, scream, stomp, kick stuff. That's the misuse of anger.
Yeah.
That creates more problems. It's when we use it as designed, and that's what we start to get to in the next few chapters.
So Philippians 4:4 says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. And then the very next line, which a lot of people miss because they say that one and then they go to be anxious about nothing. In between, it actually says, let your gentleness be evident to all. And it says the Lord is near. And I would love to experience, and I'm looking forward to experiencing, even in the times where I feel anger start to well up, it's quickly grabbed a hold of and controlled. And it is actually a moment to reveal the evidence of gentleness where normally it would have been something that was I allowed to be used by. And instead of using it, it was using me. And so for anybody out there who you just felt like you've had an anger problem for years and years, I'm telling you right now, this is an opportunity to see that change.
Well, and this is the model of the book. We haven't really talked about it, and somebody once said that maybe you ought to put the model first. And I was thinking about it when I did the class. I would always go through the model first, and then we would go through all the steps. And I kind of do that in this book a little bit, but the model, there's an 8-step model here.
Mm.
And understanding emotions is one of the steps that are necessary, because these 7 steps, from they do something, you're perceiving it, to being directed at you, to feeling a certain way, to then deciding whether it's right or fair, to then anger coming on, that happens in the blink of an eye. And so there's part of this that is working on yourself, your own perceptions, your own self-control, in terms of how am I creating this anger?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge part of what this 8-step model is about. But when we settle on, okay, I'm angry, what do we do with it? We start walking through the model. That's the purpose of the anger, is to go through these 8 steps
Mm-hmm.
that I lay out in this book. And so it may not involve other people.
Sure.
They've done something, you're angry. So what do I do? And now I start going through these 8 steps. And that energy and that focus that is anger is what motivates me to concentrate and think about the 8 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And as I work through each of these 8 steps, I am using my anger as designed. And in that 8th step, we make a decision about whether or not it's important to broach this topic with the other person.
Sure.
Or not.
Yeah.
And then how do we do that? That's where the rubber hits the road if we need to talk to somebody else. But chances are, once you get through steps 1 through 7, you don't need to talk to the other person.
Right. Because you no longer have a button that they pushed.
And that goes back to 12:2, transformed by the renewing of your mind. No one actually can control you.
That's right.
And so they're pushing my buttons. No, they're acting a fool.
Yep.
And then you're getting upset about how they're acting.
Yep.
And that's also built into this model as well. There's a section that we have to touch base on those things too, because it's very important to recognize that all this energy and focus, what makes it useful is when I direct it at me,
Mm-hmm.
not other people, not situations, not corporations, not politicians.
Right.
When I direct it at me, then it becomes a very powerful tool that I have.
Mm-hmm. So if you haven't gotten the book, go out and get it at any of the book sites, Barnes & Noble, online, go walking into the store. Do they a lot of them have it in the stores?
I have not gone and looked.
Yeah.
But definitely it's online everywhere, Amazon. And if you need a list of locations, you can go to my website at theparkergroupinc.com, and there's you can read about the book before you buy it, and then you can click on any of the links to make a purchase.
So we're going to be spending some weeks here going through this. It's going to be really, really, really good. So, Ryan?
Yeah.
What you got to say?
Yeah, I know. He's a Wigamorny, and he's and Dick Jackson and Roberts and then I need a Wigamorny, and I got Trash Morning, and he said and Brian's playing and singing. He just stopped being robbing me.
Okay.
Yeah, that sums it up
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Good job, Ryan. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Mike.
It's a good day
Thank you, Ryan.
to have a good day.
Ryan's the man.
Thank you, buddy. It's been awesome having you.
We are just these guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Jump in next week. We will be in chapter 2 of anger management. Transform anger into your advantage. See you next week.